Hi, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the Magnetic Resonance Imaging Information Session. My name is Julie Alley. I ask that you please be on mute for clear sound from the presenter and let you know that everyone will receive the slide deck early next week. Before we get started, the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. This is tonight's agenda. We won't be having a poll, so don't worry about that. No pop quizzes today. And at this time, I'd like to pass it over to Ray Lee, our program head.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this afternoon. We're just going to go over a bit about the MRI program. It's going to be split up into two sort of different sections. First, we're going to go over just kind of give you a brief overview of what MRI actually is. And then we're going to dive into the two different programs that are offered here at BCIT, where you can get your certification in MRI. So what MRI is that it is a diagnostic imaging modality that produces sectional anatomy of the body in a spatial direction that is desired. MRIs are used in diagnostic imaging to answer many different questions, and the number of applications are growing as this is a modality that is quite baby in nature compared to some of the other imaging modalities such as X-ray. The major areas of use for MRI is to visualize the brain, spinal cords, soft tissue, looking at neurological conditions. It's really helpful with musculoskeletal issues in your joints and muscles. It's really good at detecting strokes, cancers, and looking at the blood vessels within your body and also the heart. It can image anything from head to toe, so it's a very versatile piece of imaging equipment. We're also one of the professions under the MRT or medical radiation technologist community. But the big difference between the MRI machine and the other MRT imaging modalities is that the technology does not use ionizing radiation to obtain imaging. So what does an MRI machine do? So once again, it just produces sectional anatomy in any spatial direction. So you get to look at anatomy from any direction you like. It's not just a face fronting image of a bone. We can look at it from any really any direction we want it to. And then once again, just some of the major real applications where MRI is very helpful to diagnose any disease or condition is neuro, looking at inflammations, cancers, muscles, joints, and then the blood vessels and the heart. So this is an example of what an MRI image looks like. So this is a side view or a sagittal view of the neck. So on the left side here, this is considered a normal neck here. So you can see this the spinal cord here. You can see the vertebrae here going up to the very bottom of the brain. And then here on the right side here, there is a pathology that can be seen, which is a bulging disc here. So just this back piece here is coming back into the spinal cord, causing impingement. So that would generally result in a patient complaining of numbness or tingling going down one of their arms into their fingers. This can be an example of what happens if you use your phone too much. Text neck is kind of what it's calling when you're causing extreme flexion in the neck and it bulges out that really jelly-like disc that sits between the vertebrae. And then it causes that to go back into the spinal cord and causes those neurological symptoms of the numbness and tingling going down a person's arm. So on the next slide here, we just have more MRI images. So, not everything is just a plain old knee or shoulder. We use a contrast media in MRI that we inject intravenously into a patient's vein. And then we can do MRI imaging to look at the major blood vessels and the smaller blood vessels. This is an example of what you would see in a carotid or neck plus brain MR angiography. So you can see there we can take away all of the soft tissue and just leave all of the nice visualization of the highlighting of the MRI contrast. And we can look for blockages and strokes, cancers and tumors to kind of see like where the blood vessels or where the blood is going using the MRI contrast. And then the picture on the right here just shows a image of a fetal MRI. So this is where we can image babies and their mom as well. And it's safe to do just because we don't use any of the ionizing radiation as used in some of the other imaging modalities. So how we make them if we don't use radiation is that we rely on the protons inside the patient's body, and then we introduce radio frequencies that interact with the different types of protons and tissues within the body. And then we also get the patients to lay in a really big, strong magnet to help align the protons in the body. So just to give you a little bit of context, you can look at the image that's attached on the slide there. So there's magnetic field compared to a standard MRI machine of 1.5 Tesla is 33,000 times the strength of the Earth's magnetic field. And then that's what you'll see in most standard MRI machines in the hospital. And now they are going up to 3 Tesla, which is then 66,000 times the Earth's magnetic field. And how we keep the strong magnetic field going is that the machine has to be cooled down to minus 269 degrees Celsius to keep the magnets working. And then, like I said, then this strong magnetic field will then help align the protons in the body. We send in radio frequencies then to energize the protons, and then we stop the radio frequencies. The protons relax back to that state where they were before the radio frequencies, and then it emits an energy that is captured by a MRI coil or an antenna or a camera, and then that's how we get our images formed. If you've never had an MRI before, you may not know where to find these machines. So they're generally found in the hospitals, private clinics, and also mobile units. If you've ever had an MRI or have a future MRI, look to see where these are because they're always usually on the ground floor of these facilities just because of the sheer weight of the actual MRI machine and the magnet and the cooling that has to go into it. Most of the MRI machines as a whole weigh about 4 to 7 tons. Which is the equivalent of an adult elephant. So usually these won't be found in higher floors in the hospitals and clinics. They have to be built on the ground floor with concrete foundation poured underneath it before they can do the big install. So now that you have a bit of background in terms of what the MRI modality is now, we're going to jump into the 2 programs that we offer at BCIT. So we're first going to start with the MRI Advanced Certificate, and then we'll go into the MRI Diploma program. So just to give a bit of background before we get into the Advanced Certificate. So the Advanced Certificate program is a second discipline program. It's going to be for those individuals that already work in the healthcare field with the background in the imaging modality, such as sonography, medical radiography, which is X-ray, nuclear medicine, and radiation therapy. This advanced certificate program is offered online and it is considered a part-time program. And then once we go over that, we'll go into the MRI Diploma program, which is a first discipline program. And what that means is that this is for students who may not have healthcare experience in imaging modality. So what that means is that you don't need to finish a diploma or a degree in the mentioned programs in the advanced certificate. You can come straight from high school and then come onto the BCIT Burnaby campus in person. It's a 2-year diploma program and it's considered full-time. So we're going to jump into the advanced certificate first. So the advanced certificate would be for those imaging modality technologists already that would like to advance their career. You have to be able to work independently and as part of a team just because we do shift work in MRI. So what that means is that you may be opening or closing the department by yourself. But then, of course, if you work during the days, if you work during the weekends, then you'll be working with a large team, not only with MRI technologists, but other healthcare professionals. And then you're going to have to be able to work under pressure as well, because you're going to have to make a lot of judgment calls. There's a lot of MRI safety, a lot of patient care that's involved in patient communication that's involved with our profession. So you have to be able to work under pressure. And then just kind of looping back to this really big piece here, you have to have that diploma or degree in nuclear medicine, medical radiography, sonography, or radiation therapy. And then alongside of those, there is registration with the CMRT or Sonography Canada, which are associated with those. Oops, I think I lost it here. That are associated with those modalities themselves. We're just going to jump back in. Here we go. And then this is what we do for the patients as well before they get their MRI scan. But we have to make sure that the technologists themselves are also safe to work in the presence of that really strong magnetic field. So before you get into the program, you're going to have to also fill out the MRI safety screening form just to make sure that there's nothing stopping you from going into that room with that very strong magnet. So as stated, this is a part-time online program. It consists of 6 online courses, and then there is a 16-week clinical at one of the hospital sites that we're affiliated with. This program is available Canada-wide, so that means if those who are on the call who are outside from BC, you can register into this program, and then you can do your clinical site in your home province. And it is recognized by the CMRT as well, so you can write the certification exam. You can also ladder into the Bachelor of Health Science offered also at BCIT. So upon completion of the advanced certificates in MRI, you can take the additional 7 core component classes through BCIT, which are also online, to complete your Bachelor's of Health Science in MRI. And then there are also bursaries that are available from the Ministry of Health to help support those financially that would like to go through the advanced certificate program, which kicks in once you have your last 2 courses, theory courses left in the program. Some of the entrance requirements that are academic will be the Category 2 English Studies 12 at 67%, and then the diploma or degree in one of the other 4 mentioned imaging modalities. And then we have the non-academic entrance requirements, which is the screening form, and then the proof of CMRT or ARDMS registration. So the program intakes, there are 3 terms for the flexible learning or the part-time studies program. So we start our winter term in January, our spring term in April, and our fall term in September. We accept applications all year round. Something to note is that the maximum time to complete the program is 3 years. This just ensures that you are completing your didactics and your clinical within a reasonable time frame with minimal gaps. Even though it is a flexible learning program where we like to be flexible in terms of delivery, if you need a term off or a term break, we still want to work that in, but we just want to make sure that to be entry to practice and you're ready to sufficiently do the job that we do allow a maximum of 3 years to complete the advanced certificate program. And then you register into your clinical, 16-week clinical within 2 terms of completing your last theory course. Okay, so that covers the MRI Advanced Certificate program. We're going to jump into the MRI Diploma program, which is the 2-year full-time on-campus program. It is open to high school graduates. So this is the program that requires no imaging modality, no healthcare background. Over the 2 years, while you are in the program, there is 1 year of didactic academic instruction on campus, followed by 1 year of clinical, which you get an extensive clinical placements and experiences through various hospitals throughout the province. You'll also do internal rotations through different areas of the hospitals just to give you the interprofessional sort of lens to your education and how different areas interact with the MRI department. And then you are also given external rotations through different MRI areas. So You don't necessarily have to work at a hospital after graduating from the program. We give you external rotation exposure through different areas such as MRI research, pediatric areas, cancer clinics. So we really give you really good exposure to kind of see what you may be more interested in. And then we also rotate through public and private sectors as well. The clinical placements are offered throughout BC. So we have affiliations with sites on Vancouver Island, within the Lower Mainland, Interior Health, and also Northern Health. So depending on where you may be coming from to join us for the program, it's quite possible that you're coming from maybe the interior or the northern parts of BC. You come down to BCIT and join us for the 1 year, and then we can send you back to your hometown for your 1 year clinical to make things a bit easier. And the MRI diploma program is only open to BC residents. So the application steps here. So you will review the entrance requirements and take note of the application dates, just making sure that you can submit a complete application. You will then submit the all the non-academic pieces as well. So you have your Casper exam, your mandatory questionnaire, and other forms that would be required by the program. If you need to upgrade any of your academic courses, BCIT does offer upgrading courses in all of the academic prerequisite courses, and program advising can assist you with those. And the information is also on the program website. When you do apply online, just making sure you have all the required documents and your transcript, making sure to scan them and upload them as PDFs. If you need any help, admissions would be a great spot to contact, and they can help you guide you through the step-by-step application process. So some of the details for how to apply, when the deadlines are going to be on this slide here. So our January 2026 cohort, it would be the one that you would be interested in applying for. Our January 2025 start, our seats are all full. So we will be opening up our application period on February 1st, 2025, and it will end May 15th, 2025. And this will be for the January 2026 start. Admissions will assess your application within the 4 to 6 weeks. Part of the non-academic entrance requirements is that the program will reach out to you to set up an online virtual interview. And then if you are then conditionally offered a seat, then you'll be asked to pay a commitment fee to hold your seat. And tuition for the first term will be due 60 days before the start of classes. So the short lists, that would include those people that would be offered the interview. And then once we make our decisions in terms of who to offer the conditional seats to after the application deadline, that's when you'll be asked to pay your commitment fee. So in case you haven't had a chance to look at the program websites, the entrance requirements, both academic and non-academic, are listed on the slide here. So for the academic side, you have the Category 1 English Studies 12, Pre-Calculus 12, Physics 12, and Anatomy and Physiology 12, all with a minimum of 73% in terms of your mark. And like I said, if you need to upgrade these or if you don't have these, BCIT offers course equivalencies. But of course, any prior education or future education in other post-secondary institutes, as long as their course equivalents will be accepted. Some of the non-academic requirements, now broken down into point form, would be the MRI safety screening form, the physical and program requirements form, just ensuring that you have read and that you're aware that there are some physical components to the job and that you are okay with doing your clinical anywhere at any of the sites within BC. We also ask for a mandatory applicant questionnaire. So it's just a chance for us to see who you are, if you've done any research in the field, what your background is. And then you also have the Casper exam that you'll have to sign up for. They have different test dates. So for you to find out which test dates and options you have, you'll have to visit their website. and then we get the results straight from Casper. And then based on all of these, then we will contact those shortlisted applicants for a interview after the May 15th deadline. So program advising. So once again, these are people that can really help you with questions around your application. If you have any questions about course equivalencies to ensure that your application is complete, they're available to support you with the application and the admissions process. So if you have any questions or if you're unsure about anything, please connect with program advising. They can answer any of your questions that are going to be around entrance requirements, the application process, any student resources you may be seeking out, success strategies, program schedules, and such and such. So as of right now, MRI technologists are in high demand, just like any other healthcare profession as of right now. I think the one difference that we have over different imaging modalities is that MRI is now rapidly expanding. It's, like I said, a newer modality compared to X-ray, nuclear medicine, radiation therapy. So it's being a more used modality. There's a lot of AI that's being put into this imaging modality. So what that means is that now, instead of having 30 minutes to scan a patient's knee, these are getting down to 7 to 9 minutes, just using artificial intelligence and using things like that. So I think there's a real big application that's really happening now and into the next few years, where a lot of hospitals, a lot of practitioners, a lot of healthcare professions are going to be leaning on MRI more as a as a first line imaging modality. So a lot of hospitals are expanding their MRI departments. They're getting their second, they're getting their third magnet. A lot of sites that don't have any MRI services there, they're going to be getting their first ones. So yeah, there's going to be a big need, obviously, for a lot of MRI technologists to fill those gaps and to ensure that the machines can be run as many hours as it can throughout the day. We have a few different testimonials, but you will be given the slide deck, so I won't read it word for word, but when you get the slide deck, you will get testimonials from some of our advanced certificate graduates that have come from different imaging modalities to transition over to MRI. So we have Cassidy, who is one of my former X-ray students and MRI students. And we have Harmon, who is an MRI technologist in the Lower Mainland. There's a video that's attached to that. So once again, you'll get the slide deck, which you can view the video. And then he's also written a short testimonial just on his experiences in the event with the advanced certificate program. And then we do have a student here joining us today. So Tristan is our first year MRI diploma student. He's also a cohort rep, so he's quite knowledgeable about the program. He's sort of my liaison with the rest of the cohort of students. So I'd like to kind of pass it to him. He can tell you a little bit about the program, about his experiences, and then he'll also stick around at the end if you want to ask him any questions. So Tristan, I will pass it on to you.
So hi everyone, like Ray said, my name is Tristan. I'm in my first year of the first discipline program at BCIT for the MRI diploma. My background, I have a Bachelor of Science at the University of Victoria. I took a neurobiology program there, graduated back in 2018, and then most recently I was just working at Squamish General Hospital as a medical lab assistant. I finished that diploma program through Thompson River University back in 2022. So the kind of main reasons that I got into this program, MRI and kind of brain, like I've always had a really big fascination with the brain. I played a lot of sports growing up, had a lot of was really interested in football, played a lot of football, and unfortunately came into a good amount of head injuries myself, which kind of got me thinking about brain injuries and kind of how they look. So had an MRI done on my knee back when I was in high school, and then kind of kept up with it once I got to university, was kind of really interested in the whole brain thing still. So it kind of was always stuck in the back of my mind, but once kind of COVID happened and had a little bit of time, was kind of ready to move on to the next kind of steps of my career, and didn't really want to go down the research route. So it kind of seemed like medicine was a really good option for me. So I was introduced to kind of MRI through, at that point, only the advanced certificate was available. So I made the plan. I talked to some of the advisors at BCIT who were really helpful, and recommended that I get some sort of kind of healthcare experience before I start applying to any of the programs at BCIT. So that's why I ended up going down that route and going into the lab assistant program at Thompson Rivers. And then once I finished that program and was working at Squamish General, I went back and started looking because I knew I was really interested in getting into MRI and really knew that it was a really kind of upcoming field, and there was a lot of good job prospects and everything along with that. So I started looking into it again and was willing to even do 4 years of doing first a different modality before going in, and then it kind of popped up that the first discipline program was now available at BCIT. So it kind of landed right in my lap at the perfect time after I'd put in a good amount of work. So I applied in May of 2023, and then was accepted kind of later, like a month or two later. And then so now I'm here. So now I'm here and just finishing up the first year of the 2-year program, and it's been a really good journey. I would say kind of the best part of the whole thing has just been the instructors and the students as well. Like, everyone in the cohort has been just so easy to get along. Like, we're all really close to each other, and we all kind of support each other in different ways, helping each other through classes. There's 14 of us in this cohort, and I believe the previous cohort was 12, and I think future cohorts are going to have a few more people as well. Like having the smaller group, especially to go along with the instructors that they have at BCIT, like, all of our instructors are super knowledgeable and super friendly. All of them have been or are still currently working professionals. So it's been really easy to communicate with them and talk to them, and they have all the up-to-date information about what it looks like to actually be an MRI technologist. So when you're going through the courses and when you're like studying, you actually have an idea of what to expect, because the instructors kind of reinforce day in and day out, hey, these are the kinds of things you're going to see, and it's important to just keep some of those things in mind. So the instructors themselves are all like really, really supportive, and again, like I said, having that smaller cohort has meant that, like, getting that extra support in, typically it's known at BCIT that it's pretty, it's intensive. Like, it's hard work getting through a program at BCIT, especially one that, there's only a year of didactic in this program. So it's a year straight of school, right? But knowing that you have those instructors there makes it so much easier. Like, everything about the program is just really set up for the students to succeed. So as someone who has a good amount of post-secondary experience, and I've been able to kind of pass this on to my cohort too, is that, there aren't a lot of programs that are kind of built like this, that have people that are super knowledgeable, currently working or have just finished working or have worked in the field for 20 years and are willing to give you the time of day. Because I remember some of those lectures when I was at UVic, where it's like, you've got 350 other people trying to get the attention of your instructors, and they don't really have time for any extra questions. So having that extra support, and then having the support of like just a small cohort, makes the whole program so much easier to get through.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So Tristan will stick around after the presentation if you have any questions for him, specifically maybe about his journey and his experience so far in the program. So I'll pass it over to Julie for the next few slides.
Now, moving on from the academics, I'd like to talk a little bit about our student supports. We have Indigenous initiatives, student financial aid and awards, accessibility services, student health services, which is a fully functioning medical facility on campus available to you once you are an enrolled student, counseling, and student development. Also, we have recreation services with a fully functioning gym, racquetball court, Pilates facility, and climbing wall and more. We have our BCIT Health Sciences social media handles. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. There are several ways to connect with us on campus. You can book a tour, spend a day, big info, which many of you might have come to already 2 weeks ago. Come to another info session or book an appointment with a program advisor. I am going a little quickly through these slides just because I want to give enough time for us to have a good portion for our Q&A. But if you have any questions about any of the socials or any of these links, please just put them in the chat and we can talk about it a little bit more. Now that we're opening it up to our Q&A portion, I'd like to start with our questions first. So if the questions that you have are at all about the criteria about applying or the admissions process, where we're going to refer you to program advising, that section is in the chat already, as well as the tuition fee finder, where you can see it broken down per semester. And Jessica did ask if you will be getting a copy of the slide deck. Yes, you will, early next week. Now, from Mackie, is there any way, just a moment, any way to get a bachelor's degree after taking this diploma course?
As of right now, the laddering to the bachelor degree doesn't exist from the diploma course. But upon completion of the diploma course, which is something I didn't touch upon yet, is that not only are you eligible to write the Canadian certification exam, which then would, upon completion of that, successful completion, you'll be able to work across Canada, but you're also then eligible to write the American certification exam. So if you have any desire to go down to the States and work, you are, upon completion of either the advanced certificate or diploma program, you can write the American certification exam and work there.
For the MRI diploma, how many seats are available per year?
Yeah, so Tristan kind of touched upon this. So currently there are 14. We are going up to 16 for January 2025. And for the foreseeable future, it's going to stay at 16.
I've added in the Instagram account for MRI as well in the chat. It's a great account. There's a lot of student life, student posts, projects, where they go throughout the year. So I totally invite you to follow them and engage with them on Instagram. Now back to the questions. Is this program only open to domestic students or PR students?
Yeah, so just BC residents. So I think for PR, I think as long as they are BC residents in that sense, I'm not too well versed in it, but I think that would be a good question as well for maybe program advising, but I believe so.
Is it possible to be hired as soon as you finish the diploma?
Correct. Yeah. So after the 2-year program, while you're waiting to write the certification exam, because there's a few weeks of in between finishing your last clinical term and the write dates for the certification exam, a lot of students will be hired during that time and they are able to work. And then obviously then once you pass your exam, then you'll be hired as a full-fledged MRI technologist.
Wonderful. What is the average salary of this role?
Yeah, so the MRI technologist will start off as of right now $41 an hour, with going up to $51 an hour. And those are for non-supervisory roles. When you go into a supervisory role, it'll depend on the size of the department that you are managing, but that could go all the way up to $65 an hour.
Thank you, Ray. What is the graduation rate of the diploma program and what is the employment rate for grads? Two-part question.
Okay, so we don't have any graduates from the diploma program. Our most senior students right now, so they're in year 2, are finishing the program at the end of this year. The graduation rate as of right now is going to be probably 100%. Employment rate probably 100%. I know of some students who are already hired or have been given job offers already before graduation. So I think that speaks to how employable our grads are and how good they've been performing during their clinical terms.
Would you need to complete the advanced certificate after the diploma?
No, you wouldn't. They would be somewhat of the same. You would end up with the same credential. So the event certificate is just there for those who maybe went to X-ray first and then wants to do MRI. And then they would be certified in that once completing the event certificate. Where the diploma is a direct entry, you don't need that X-ray background. You can go right into MRI and finish it in the 2 years.
Thank you, Ray. A lot of questions about the application. So how many applicants do you accept per year? How many do you receive? What's the application rate? And how
Okay.
competitive is it?
On average, we received about 40 to 45 complete applications. And then the first year we accepted 12. The current year we accepted 14. Next year we've accepted 16. So I would say like applicant to seat ratio is about 2.5 to 1, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, somewhere in that. I would say it's fairly competitive, just because of the amount of applicants versus the seats that we have. Just like Tristan said, this is a very small cohort size. And if you want to make your application, more competitive, there are shortlisting criteria on the program website, and that'll give you some insight on how to strengthen an application.
How are students' clinical placements determined?
Yeah, so for the diploma program, I think I'm assuming that that's what you're referring to. We do that process in weeks 1 and 2 of the program. We get students to let us know where they would like to go. This could be determined by maybe where they live, what clinical sites they want to do their clinical in and potentially be hired in. So we let sort of have the students have their say in terms of where they'd like to go, and then we just try to accommodate everyone. Obviously, there's not enough room and clinical seats for everyone to get their choices. So, for some instances, some students will have to go outside of their preferred areas to do their clinical terms. But we do ensure that, that students are aware that this is a possibility with the form that you have to sign while you're applying. And then also doing it right at the beginning of the year will give you a lot of time to determine accommodations, how you need to fit this into your life, and to kind of get you prepared for it.
Is it necessary to finish all the courses within 2 years? Is it okay to split the courses and graduate within 3 years? Diploma.
Diploma, no. So everything is done on a certain path. Prerequisites are done from term to term, so there's no option. So considering this is a full-time program, this then is a full-time commitment from the students, so they'll have to be with us for the 2 years.
For the diploma program, I understand you can't always be placed at a hospital in the Lower Mainland. If you wish to stay close as possible to, say, Burnaby, can you try to place the people in the valley, or is it truly anywhere in the province?
So, so if I understand the question correctly, so if a student is from outside of the Lower Mainland, they'll most likely pick a site that's outside of Lower Mainland. So as of right now, for example, we have a student that's come from from Vancouver Island to do their 1 year of studies with us. He's chosen to go back to Vancouver Island to do his second year of clinical. So we do accommodate that, and that would obviously then, I guess, open up a Lower Mainland seat. So we kind of really like the students to kind of have a say in where they want to go. Of course, it could go the other way around. They're from the island and they really want to stay here for their clinical year, so it can kind of go both ways. So yeah, so we try our best to accommodate everyone's preferences, but as we've seen as the cohort grows, that's most likely not gonna work for everyone.
Yeah, my question was, in terms of the like the grades, do they just look at like the high school ones, or do they also look at kind of all together, like the entire program or everything that we've done so far?
Yeah, we would only look your application in terms of the 4 academic courses or its equivalencies. So anything outside of that, like if you've taken chemistry, anything like that, that falls outside of the courses that are noted, we won't look at that.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome.
And Joanne, will there be a recording of this presentation posted somewhere later to review? We will send an email with the slide deck and a link to a previous recording. We did not record this session to be shared, so we're going to send you a similar session that we have already edited. From Jeremy, you discussed minimum and maximum hourly rates. How many hours does it take to earn the maximum rate?
Yeah, so you get the minimum rate once you get hired. So that's year one. There are 6 different steps, so years 1 through 6. So every year you get one step. So the top wage is achieved once you get to your 6th step or 6th year. And then year 7 on, there are no then scheduled sort of raises outside of any collective bargaining agreement, things that would increase your everyone's wages across the board. So yeah, just to answer your question, it's 6 years.
Tristan, I did have a question for you.
Sure.
How many students in your cohort were didn't fully complete their bachelor's? Estimate.
Yeah, so estimate, kind of based off of our group, there's at least 3 or 4 that I know of that had no post-secondary experience whatsoever, 2 of which came straight from high school. It's not to say that they didn't have any kind of experience to kind of help get them in at the same time. The vast majority of them had kind of some kind of volunteering or kind of medical background to kind of help them out. But post-secondary, I don't think is a requirement, but I do think it helps. But yeah, if that gives you a good breakdown, kind of 4 out of 14 didn't, from my knowledge.
Gotcha. And how many students, like I personally have 3 years of post-secondary experience. How many students were there that had similar to that, where they didn't fully complete their degree?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple. I know of at least 2 in my mind that didn't end up finishing the full degree.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And with that, I'd like to take a minute to thank you, Tristan, for taking the time out to come here today and speak with everyone and give your perspective. I'd also like to thank Ray for taking his time out and giving us a wonderful presentation, and everyone at home for participating in this, asking questions. And I know it's not easy in the evening when you're working and in school to take the time out and actually come to the session you registered for. So thank you to you all. I'm going to forward along to some of our information. And again, you'll be receiving the slide deck and a link to a previous recording, Ray's email, program advising, and our Instagram account. 4 more minutes for questions. So we're gonna try and get through these, as many of these as we can, as quickly as we can. What is the acceptable volunteer experience? Is it okay to greet and usher visitors to the hospital?
Yeah, so I'd say like the work experience or is quite vast in what we would be looking for. So like wayfinding would be acceptable, but we would be looking for something where maybe you had more interactions one-on-one with patients in different areas of the hospital. So definitely wayfinding would be definitely acceptable. I know that in some cases it's hard to get volunteer or work experience in the hospital setting. So I always guide applicants to looking at long-term facilities, care facilities, where then you are working one-on-one with a lot of the people there. There's a lot of, using medical devices such as like wheelchairs and things like that and assisting people with moving from different areas. So I feel that's also a great spot to get some of that. And if that's not an option, anything customer service related or anything extracurricular programs that you sort of are part of, like you would note all of those things in your mandatory application questionnaire.
Thank you, Ray. One last question for Tristan and then one question for Ray before we come to a close. So Ray, we had a question on how much do you study every day and every weekend? And then from Joanne, how's the school load and would you recommend having a job?
Okay, maybe that's for the both of us then. Tristan, I'm gonna give you the first one, and I'm gonna answer the second one with my recommendations for a job.
For sure. So how much I study every day and every weekend. This is very highly dependent on whether we've got a bunch of exams going on, but I'd say on average, kind of week to week, most days I'm studying anywhere from 1 to 2 hours after school. So a little bit of homework to do, and then on weekends I'll try and do a little bit extra. I like to try and be a bit proactive and get a little bit of work done before the next set of lectures get released. So I try and do a bit of textbook reading on weekends too. So I'd say every week, probably an average of about 10 to 14 hours. I'd say that's pretty on par with most kind of post-secondary programs, though.
And then just piggybacking on that, in terms of like the school workload, is that when we developed the program, we really tried to keep in mind like student well-being, giving people opportunities to reset and recharge and not to burn out. So in terms of the school load, we did introduce a online day during all of our academic terms. So this gives the students a opportunity to stay at home, to do their studies, and to be, in the comfort of their own home, to, hopefully having one less day of commute. And then the other days then would be spent on campus. I wouldn't recommend having a very extensive job, just because, as Tristan said, he studies 10 to 14 hours a week. If you have a job outside of that and you work once a week, that takes half of that time away. So if you do have to work part-time, because I understand people do have to, they have other, expenses and such, you just want to keep in mind that you're here at BCIT to, forward your career, to gain a new career, and that, try and put most of your energy and focus into your academics while you're here.
Is from Anna. So just to understand, the diploma does not currently have any options to advance, but if you do the advanced certificate, you can upgrade to the Bachelor's of Health Sciences.
Correct. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
And then if you can't do the diploma, then you do the advanced certificate, right?
So if you can't do the diploma, then do the advanced certificate. I'm not sure if that's entirely true. So the advanced certificate just caters to a different type of student, where you're already working in medical imaging and you want to do MRI instead. The diploma is going to be more for like those people that are out of high school, out of post-secondary, and they want to learn MRI without having to do the X-ray first. Yeah, so they're kind of like two different credentials that cater to two different types of students. And then maybe just going back to the first one, that I only say no based on the credentials that we have offered at BCIT. There are other avenues to get your Bachelor's of Health Science after you do your diploma. I think one popular route will be to go through Thompson Rivers University or any other school where they would accept your credits from the MRI diploma to ladder into a bachelor's program there. So at BCIT itself, we don't have a bachelor's that ladders from the diploma, but there are other options out there.
Okay, and with that, we must come to a close. If we haven't answered your questions, I apologize, but hope we reached as many people as we could. Please email Ray or Program Advising, follow us on Instagram, and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate all the questions.